Hello, what's up, and welcome to the Weekenders. This is the show where we talk about the six biggest football games of the weekend, brought to you by Multiplicity Media. I'm Max, live from LA from the for the time for I don't know for however long I'm here. And of course, I'm joined by Bobby and Lexi, who is sporting Go Blue like no one else can possibly
Yeah, like
do it
all of the
with the hair. Oh my gosh. Super excited for everyone that is listening because we have a really packed like show and a lot to talk about as you're going to hear this pretty soon, but we're recording this the day after the first college football rankings came out. So we have a lot to talk about in college football and also a lot to talk about in the NFL as well with some interesting games. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into college football and let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend in all of football, and that's Georgia and Tennessee. Number one, Tennessee, who is ranked by the College Football Playoff Committee, at number 3, Georgia, Saturday at 3:30 in Athens. So like we mentioned, the college football playoff rankings are out. The committee has Tennessee at number 1, and the AP has Georgia at number 1. I think you can make an argument for either of those teams to be number 1, but I'll open up the floor to you guys to ask you who you think deserves to be the number 1 team in college football at this point.
Well, I think it's a good debate, and I think it's pretty awesome that we get to have this solved on Saturday so we don't have to figure it out. But I would go with Tennessee right now, just given what they've done on their resume. They've played really tough opponents. Obviously, they're undefeated, so they've gotten a lot of wins. Obviously, haven't done a lot of work on the road. I mean, they have that game against Pitt they won. But other than that, they've just been racking up ranked win after ranked win. And then, that LSU road win is looking better than ever with them in the top 10. So I got to give it to Tennessee based on resume. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a massive, massive test how the Vols handle life between the hedges over in Athens.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because Tennessee just looks out of their minds right now, where I feel like Georgia isn't the same team as last year, and I know I've said that a couple times, which doesn't make them that good. They are very good, but it's just if Tennessee was playing last year's Georgia team, I'd say that Georgia has the benefit of the doubt here. But I think that Tennessee is overall the better team, and college football playoffs rankings got that one right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I tend to agree that Tennessee definitely deserves to be ranked number 1. And like Bobby said, like it kind of really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, whoever wins this game is going to be the number 1 team in college football. I mean, that's just it just is what it is. I mean, and I think for me, being the number 1 team in college football has a lot to do with the teams you beat, but also the way you played in those games. And so I think in a lot of ways Tennessee has shown that. That Alabama game, I think everyone expected that to be close. No one's going to necessarily say, oh, they didn't beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns, so they're not number 1. I think that's the best win of anybody in college football so far, and that's a close game. Beat LSU by a wide margin, and that's a committee ranked number 10 team beat a good Kentucky team, and at the time, going into that Pitt game, I believe Pitt was ranked at that point. So even that win, is a good one, like you mentioned, like you shouted out Bobby. So I think Tennessee definitely deserves to be number 1 at this point, and I think the committee got it right. The AP, I thought the AP honestly would have Tennessee number 1. Maybe there's some benefit of the doubt going to Georgia, especially because they've looked a little bit more shaky, but they've handled business in a lot of ways since that Missouri game. Big wins over Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Florida. So, there's a good argument for both, honestly. But the edge in this game, Tennessee has an explosive offense. We don't need to belabor that. We've already talked about it in shows before. Georgia's defense is playing lights out. Like I just mentioned, you look at the last few games, and the teams are not good, but at the same time, they are playing really good defense, and you have to give them credit for that. So, in this situation, Georgia's got defense. They got the experience of being in this spot. Tennessee doesn't have the experience, but they have a phenomenal offense. So, who do you guys think has the edge in this at this point?
I mean, I'm definitely going to say Tennessee here. I think, like you said, their offense is just incredible, and Hooker's just on a rampage this season, doing well. So, yeah, I would say even with Georgia, like it being in Georgia, I just think Tennessee's offense is gonna really give them a test and a kind of a wake up call. So, I'm going Tennessee on the edge.
As much as I love Tennessee, and it's been a fun, heartwarming, like kind of return to glory for them. Josh Heupel, he's my guy. At the same time, I'm going with Georgia here. I think they have the edge. Obviously, the home atmosphere. Look, it's easy to win in front of 115,000 screaming people wearing, that light, weird, pumpkin-y orange they have. Yeah, but if you're on the road in Athens, that environment is going to be absolutely through the roof. And not only that, Georgia's defense is still pretty dang good. Obviously, not as good as they were in the past, but look, I think they're going to be stepped up for this game. I think they have the quality, the talent. I think they're coached well, and I think they're just going to be too good for Tennessee on the road, or for Tennessee to handle this on the road. So I think Georgia has the edge, but it's razor thin, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
All right, so we know that Vegas has Georgia. They have Georgia favored -8. We expect it to be a close game. Interesting experience versus hot team sort of like battle that we've seen sometimes in the past. I tend to lean Georgia. I think because it's at home and Georgia has been here before and they have the experience, and sometimes defense defense wins championships. We know the cliche. I think Georgia's gonna have that perfect storm of getting stops where they need to, being at home, and them having the experience of being in this spot. I think plays into Georgia's hands. I like Georgia to win this game. Bobby, what about you?
Yeah, I like Georgia to win this game as well. I think that overall they're just kind of more of a complete team. And, I think Tennessee obviously has an incredible resume, but when you go on the road, it changes everything. And the thing that changes usually is offense. Offense does not travel as well as defense does. So I think Tennessee, even though they do have a pretty good defense, they really need that offense to be clicking. I think Georgia keeps it really, really close here, but gets that win. 8.5. I don't like that. That line makes me uncomfortable. So I would recommend just not playing it and just watching the game. The public has been completely just slamming on Tennessee. This line opened up at 10.5, but I don't know. I'll say this. If it goes into a shootout, I don't expect Georgia to win it, though. So Georgia will have to slog this thing down. The last time Georgia allowed an opponent to score 30 points or more and still won the game, 2018 in the Rose Bowl against Oklahoma. So it's been they don't win games in blowouts.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to take Tennessee here, guys. I think that they're just hot right now. Kirby's going to kind of get a little slap in the face and realize it's not the same team from last year. I think that, like I said, Tennessee's offense is going to have a day. I really do. I think that it's just going to be the perfect storm, like you said, would happen if it needed to. So I'm taking Tennessee straight up.
Alrighty. Yeah, I mean, almost an impossible game to predict, but
I'm so excited for this game, though, because it is like
fun one to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some fun facts for you guys. Tennessee is 1-2. Georgia and Tennessee, excuse me, are both 1-2. Um, Wait, no, I don't know. Sorry, never mind. Forget the stats. Let's move on. My bad. I'm messing these up.
No problem.
Anyway, yeah, good teams. Both really good teams. Fun game. All right, let's talk about the second game on our slate. Another SEC game, another big SEC game, especially because of the ranking that has been received by LSU from the committee, and that's number 6 Alabama at number 10 LSU. Let's talk about quickly like LSU's turnaround, right? Like we see them lose to Florida State in that neutral site game. Things are looking bumpy for them, and then all of a sudden they're this 2-loss team that's beaten Ole Miss, and now is number 10 in the nation apparently. What happened? How did they do it?
How did they get ranked number 10? The committee.
How are they even good right now? Like what's going on down there in Death Valley?
I mean, I think, like they said, Brian Kelly is a good coach. All right. We know that. As much as I don't like him and don't respect him as a human being, he is a good coach. Was it funny at first to watch these 2 losses happen? Of course. And he's probably going to get a third one this weekend, but he's got all the talent in the world and he's a good coach. So it's not shocking, that he turned this around as quickly as he did with just a bag full of athletes that are very good. So, props to him for doing it, but we'll see what happens this weekend. But I'm not shocked that they turned things around quickly.
I'm so confused how this team is ranked 10th in the country. Obviously, you go out, you lose to Florida State. That's rough, but look at their body of work. It's not that impressive. It's you beat Southern, that's good. You beat a Mississippi State team that is horrible on the road at home. You beat New Mexico, also a bad team. You barely scraped by Auburn in a massive comeback, 21-17. Get blown out at home against Tennessee, which, hey, they're doing that to everybody. And then, okay, you win it. You win a shootout against a Florida team that's 4-4 now at this point. Not a great team, but you beat an overrated Ole Miss, and that puts you at 10. That's it. Just because you beat number 7 Ole Miss, it's just baffling to me because I don't think they've really turned that much around. They've had a cupcake schedule. They've been able to scrape out wins, but I don't think they're really that good. I don't think they're a top 10 team in the country.
This is for Bama. It's all for Bama. Oh, yeah.
It's
but how funny is it going to be if LSU comes out and beats Bama? And then it's like, now you got 2 2-loss SEC teams. Have fun with that.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, LSU's kind of catching a break in terms of, this is a tough game against Alabama. If they win it somehow, then you just have Arkansas, UAB, and A&M. So, I mean, LSU is, it's impressive that they're, even in this conversation right now. It's kind of interesting as well. But the SEC has just been weird this year. But let's talk about it. I mean, we did touch on this. I want to say going into that Tennessee game, the top 5 coaches in college football right now. Looking back at that, I know we didn't really get deep into it, but I mean, at this point, it is what it is. LSU's a 2-loss team. They're number 10. Maybe they don't deserve to be the top 10 team, but does this turnaround or this situation, I guess, that LSU finds himself in, is that making you guys reconsider whether or not Brian Kelly is a top 5 coach in college football right at this point?
Not necessarily. I think LSU is a place where, I mean, look, Les Miles won a title there, Ed Ogeron won a title there. It's not exactly like it's easy to turn it around. It's LSU. You have everything you could need. What are we doing here? I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think I'm left super impressed by it. I don't know. I'm not a fan. It's not that I'm not a fan, but he's out here, he just got a Lamborghini and he's racing against horses. So like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. No, I feel the same. It's like I said, it's like, yes, he's a good coach. I just don't like this isn't that impressive to me. I mean, it's like you got all the talent and tools in the world. I would hope you could turn it around, So we'll see. I want to wait maybe a couple seasons before I even say that he's a top 5 right now because I want to see how he continues to do at LSU.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the potential of impact if Alabama loses this game. Like you sort of alluded to, Lexi, Alabama, if they win this game, it'll help them be propped up. They obviously have aspirations to make it to the SEC championship because all they have to do is get to the SEC championship, and if they win that, they're going to be in the playoff. Everyone knows that, even with their one loss. But Alabama is sort of needing this game a lot, to have those chances to do that. And if they lose this game, what does that mean for not only the rest of the SEC but for the playoff picture?
If Alabama loses,
yes,
it's going to mess all their plans up for sure, because then they're going to have to figure out, well, how are we going to get, make sure that, Georgia and Tennessee can still make it, and they're going to make sure the SEC is going to be set. But it'll throw a wrench in their plans, and it's going to be funny to watch, like how they're going to scrape together and figure out how they can still make things work at the end. But
well, I mean, if they lose this game, they don't control their destiny in the SEC West anymore. Yeah, that would be LSU. LSU only has one SEC loss to that same Tennessee team that Alabama has a loss to. So if they can run the gauntlet of beating Arkansas, UAB, UAB doesn't matter. All they have to do is beat Arkansas and A&M, and they win the West, which means they go to the SEC championship. Alabama's at home. And that opens up a whole other can of worms as to like what happens if that team beats Georgia or Tennessee. Are you going to put a 2-loss SEC team in over a couple undefeated teams? It's going to get messy. It's going to get sloppy. So I don't know. The prospect of an Alabama loss here, it really leads to a lot of questions, and I think it could be exciting. If you're a fan of chaos like me, at this point I just want to see the world burn, so I'm all in on it. But I will say, I don't know. I think it would be pretty wild.
I'll say this. I think Alabama losing obviously helps Georgia and Tennessee because now the result of their game doesn't really matter because you're going to get LSU or, if they would need help as well. But, LSU or Ole Miss representing the SEC West in the conference championship, which means, you expect Georgia to beat both of those teams. You'd expect Tennessee to beat both of those teams. So they kind of get a break, right? Like Georgia could lose this game against Tennessee, go to the SEC championship, beat LSU or Ole Miss, and, still be well on their way to the playoff with that conference win, or Tennessee could do the same thing. So I think all it does is take Alabama out of the conversation and then help Georgia or Tennessee to make it. It would be interesting to see if that would also lead to maybe 2 SEC teams getting into the playoff, but I know people don't want to imagine that at all. So a lot of ramifications if Alabama loses, but those same ramifications kind of exist if Alabama wins. So it's kind of a lose-lose if you're not an Alabama fan.
I'll say this: if Alabama loses, the real winner is the loser of the Georgia-Tennessee game, because then they don't have to play in the SEC championship. They can just play out the rest of their games and probably get in the playoff. So this is going to be a really weird stretch down the run.
Well, imagine if Bama wins, but then loses in the SEC championship. That would be like.
At that point, it's the loser of Georgia, Tennessee for sure. I would imagine.
Yeah, that'd be insane. Well, the line is 13.5 in favor of Alabama. Pretty tight for an Alabama line, but we know that they are playing a good LSU team. They're struggling on the road. kind of makes sense. The Alabama and LSU are both second and fifth in the SEC respectively in points allowed and yards allowed. Nick Saban, 2-0 versus Brian Kelly all time. We're just talking about Brian Kelly as a top 5 coach in the game right now, potentially. And it's interesting, Nick Saban and Brian Kelly. Nick Saban's wins all time, 273. Brian Kelly, 266. So Nick Saban, the great Nick Saban, probably the greatest college football coach of all time. Not that much more wins than Brian Kelly, although Nick Saban's got a bunch of championships. So
actually does something in the postseason.
Yeah, right. So big difference there. But Nick Saban's got the record head to head. Like I said, pretty close line. I don't know. I think I'd take LSU to maybe cover that, to be honest. But I don't know. I think Alabama is just too good of a team to lose this game. I just couldn't fathom. Like LSU's playing well. Shout out to Brian Kelly and Jalen Daniels and everything they're doing there. But I think Alabama just out talents LSU in this game.
I think it all comes down to, can Alabama keep their penalties under control? This has been one of the most undisciplined Alabama teams I have ever seen, and it's gotten them in trouble. It got them in trouble against Tennessee, got them in trouble almost against Texas. They had to squeak out of that one, and it's been a constant issue that they've just not been able to overcome. This place, Death Valley, Baton Rouge, 6 p.m. at night, is the worst place for an undisciplined team. It's going to be loud. It's going to be insane. This is a place that causes earthquakes with how crazy they get. So I personally kind of like LSU to cover the spread here, just due to kind of that atmosphere, and I think they just make it interesting. But ultimately, like you said, Alabama's too talented. I think they find a way to squeak out. But they're going to have to get those penalties under control, or else it is going to get really ugly.
Yeah, I agree. As interesting it would be for Bama to lose, I don't see this happening. But they're turnovers. Like they control their own destiny at this place. Let's just say that, because they just need to get their stuff together. Just keep it on the field. Let's finish it out. But LSU could win. I think they cover though. Like, I agree with you guys. I don't think this is going to be some blowout. But they'll keep it close, and they'll definitely give Bama a run for their money, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be. I think both of these games in the SEC, the Tennessee, Georgia, and the Alabama, LSU, are going to be great games. Looking forward to both of those for sure. All right, let's move on to the last college football game that we're going to talk about today. And another controversial thing surrounding this game with the college football playoff rankings. Number 4, Clemson at Notre Dame. You definitely have some other ranked versus ranked games, and maybe some other games with better teams, but this game is super consequential for a lot of reasons that we'll dig into. But putting it simply, this is a game where if you're anything that's not a Clemson fan, you are rooting for Clemson to lose this game, and this is a spot where it could realistically happen. South Bend, Notre Dame is a very hard place to play, no matter how good or bad the team is. So this is probably the last slip up spot on the schedule for Clemson. But let's get into the elephant in the room, Clemson being ranked 4. Which I would say, in my opinion, I thought it was, I as soon as we saw that the committee ranked Wake, Q's, and NC State, I knew that we were going to see Clemson ranked 4. But a lot of people were surprised and disagreed with Clemson being ranked above TCU, who's at 7, and above Michigan, who's at 5. So, how did you guys feel about how the outcome. Lexi, I know you're dying to go. I'll let you go first.
No, I mean, I'm not shocked. You're trying to go down to the wire, and I know everyone's saying, "Oh, Michigan's non-conference," but when I'm looking at teams like Georgia Tech, Furman, LA Tech, to Hawaii, Colorado State, UConn, it's all garbage to me. I don't care. It's not that different to me. It's not enough to say, "Oh, that's why." But then you look at the overall stats that I checked out on ESPN's website. Clemson's defense allowed 42 points against those teams. Michigan's only allowed 17 against those non-conference. That's a lot of points. Michigan's defense is way better. Their overall offense is way better. So, the committee is always going to play these little puppet strings. And we watched it with LSU. We watched it with NC State, the Wake and the Qs. But, it is what it is. When it comes down to it, win out. Michigan's got to win out anyways. There's no way they're going to let a one-loss Big Ten team into the playoffs, regardless if we lose to Ohio State. So the way I see it, you just got to win out and just prove that these guys really don't know what they're talking about. But it is what it is. It's annoying, though. It is. But you just got to hope that Notre Dame can take it out.
Yeah, I think the issues with Clemson right now, I see why they put him there, and I think it's fair, mainly because of those three teams being in there. They've not looked good. They've been sloppy. And I'll put it this way, like you said, as a Michigan fan, you don't need to worry about it because those three teams are going to start losing, especially with the quarterback issues that they're having at Syracuse and at NC State. Both of those teams are not as good as they have been, and those two are going to get knocked out. Wake Forest is playing one of them this week. So there you go. And not only that, but, other than, I guess, Notre Dame, no, not even, I guess, Notre Dame, Clemson doesn't have another win on their schedule, prospective win, that would be remotely as big as beating Ohio State. So it's going to sort itself out. It is what it is right now because of this. And I think that's fair. But ultimately, I think it's not really a projection for what will happen, but how it is, and it's all going to get sorted. It's sorted out. Do I think Clemson's the fourth best team in the country, though? Hell no, absolutely not. They keep scraping by, and maybe with Klubnik, I don't know. We need to see more, but from what I've seen, no, they do not look that great.
Yeah, I think Clemson's reputation plays into it a lot. I think. From just the few years of this exercise being done, I think the committee cares a lot about, the teams that you beat, even more so than the losses. I've sort of come to realize, with Texas being ranked, I was like, okay, they don't give a damn about those losses at all. They really care about who teams beat. So obviously, again, going back to the amount of ranked wins, and then you look at, all right, Michigan, a team like Clemson isn't really sexy. It's not, they're not, blowing teams out like we've seen Ohio State do or Michigan do or whatever. So it's sort of that weird battle of all right, the committee says they care about these things, but in this case, they're really only taking this one thing into account. And it's just really weird. But as you guys have mentioned, teams like Michigan, TCU, Alabama, those teams on the outside looking in that feel like they should be ranked ahead of Clemson, hell, even Oregon or UCLA or whatever, your job is to win the games in front of you, and all that stuff will take care of itself. But let's talk about this game, Notre Dame. Do you guys think they can win?
Yeah, I do. They've been iffy. They've been hot and cold. The definition of it, they'll go, beat a BYU team on the road, beat that really good, or they beat BYU, neutral site, whatever. They beat UNC on the road, which is a very impressive win. And then they'll lose to Stanford at home, who's garbage. And then obviously we know what happened with Marshall and, Ohio State, not a bad loss. But they've been iffy. They've been hot and cold. At the same time, they'll go and beat a good Syracuse team with Garrett Schrader, clobber them. So it's hard to tell. At home, though, I like the energy. I like the vibes. I think Notre Dame Stadium, I think that's what it's called, original name, guys, is not exactly the biggest fortress in the world, but for a game like Clemson, it'll be pretty intense. So I think they have a shot in this. But honestly, what's going to happen, because I've seen this movie like 40 times, is it's going to be close. Notre Dame is going to be ahead, and then Clemson's going to squeak out a win, but not the cover, because that's just how they operate, and it's going to piss all of us off.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. But as someone who has avidly hated Notre Dame my whole life, I am like going to be the biggest Irish fan this weekend, and I have zero shame about it. I do not care. I absolutely think Notre Dame can win this. I hated playing at Notre Dame as Michigan. Like, it is difficult. That crowd is just crazy and very into it. And I just think that Clemson is just not that good. So I think that it'd be hilarious watching this happen, but it's a very viable chance. I think that Notre Dame is just as good as Clemson, in my opinion. I don't even care saying that because they'll keep it close, but Clemson's going to lose this game. Notre Dame's coming out on top.
The fallout is going to be interesting. This is a nationally televised game. It's on NBC, because NBC has that weird partnership with Notre Dame. It's Saturday night on NBC, national TV. So a lot of eyes are going to be on this game because, it's Clemson Notre Dame, but it's also like, all right, this is Clemson's chance to either shut everybody up and, beat this team by, 3 scores or whatever, and just let the world know that they deserve to be the number 4 team in the country, or they're going to play this really close game, and everyone's going to be like, the committee is a bunch of idiots, right? So like, it's a swing factor for either result. The line being at -4, I think, is fair based on what we've seen from Clemson, and based on, again, the environment that is Notre Dame. It's a tough place to play. But yeah, Notre Dame is just this weird Jekyll and Hyde team. Like Bobby broke it down, gave Ohio State their best game in terms of like, that 21-10. I mean, that's compared to what Ohio State's done since then. Like, that's a really good, close loss by Notre Dame. Like you said, Bobby beat UNC and Syracuse, who are both now ranked, but lost to Marshall and Stanford, and barely got out of BYU. So, some weird season for them, but definitely I think they're capable of playing spoiler to Clemson. Like we said, Clemson's favored by 4. Over under is 44.5. This game is, check the weather for this game. It's going to be a brisk 52 degrees in South Bend, Indiana. So hopefully the Clemson guys are prepared for that weather. But this series, they haven't played as many times as I thought. They've only played 6 times before. Clemson leads the series 4-2. I think a couple years ago when Notre Dame joined the ACC, they played Clemson twice, and they split those games. But both of these teams like to run the ball. Clemson's really good at stopping the run. Lexi has already given Notre Dame the green light of winning this game. Bobby, I want to hear your pick.
It's tricky. I'll put it this way. If DJU starts, it'll be Notre Dame. If it's Klubnik, I kind of like Clemson. I think it's a toss-up. But I don't know. This Clemson team, surely someone's got to stop them at some point, right? Like, there's no way we're actually letting this team in the playoff, right? Right? There's so many other good teams going on right now. We're not letting them. Oh, please no.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think like one of the biggest weapons for Notre Dame is their tight end. I forget I think it's Mayer, NFL guy for sure. I think Clemson's got good linebackers and good physicality to not let him win the game. Notre Dame's quarterback is terrible. So I think what Notre Dame's going to try to do is keep this on the ground as much as possible. Something that Syracuse probably should have done a little bit more. But that's the thing. Clemson's so good at stopping the run. I think they're going to have a hard time playing that way, and I don't think Notre Dame has the quarterback to necessarily win the game through the air either. So I just don't see a way that Notre Dame wins this game unless, like you said, Bobby, like there's just a meltdown from DJU and Cade comes in and it's too little too late. Like I just think there's Notre Dame just doesn't have the offense, and Clemson is very, very talented on defense. I think I could see this game going a lot how the Ohio State game went, to be honest with you. So I'll take Clemson, and we'll see what happens. It should be a fun game, though. All right, let's move on to the NFL. Definitely some exciting college games. The NFL's got some interesting ones, too. Chargers Falcons, not necessarily a game that you thought was going to be a great one coming into the season, but the Falcons are the number one team in the NFC South. The Chargers have been okay. But let's talk about like the Falcons' strategy for the season. Like they're 4-4. They have a real chance to maybe win the division and make the playoffs. The Buccaneers stink. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. Good win in overtime over the Panthers. But the Falcons at this point, they could win this game and continue on their trajectory, which is, I'm not sure what, but do you like should the Falcons even be winning? Should they be tanking? Is this the right direction for the Atlanta Falcons to go?
I'll go first. Okay. So I am not a fan of tanking. I am not. I don't think I ever could be. And I just don't know if a lot of these guys ever are. They're competitive. So, the tanking thing is just never my thing. Do I think the Lions do it every single year? Yeah, they do. Purposely. But, I don't think that they should be tanking necessarily. But, if that's what they end up doing, so be it. But I hate the tanking thing. I hate it so much and I'll never like it.
Let me cover up the Thunder logo on my hat. I'm not a fan of tanking. I don't think it's a good idea, especially when you're especially when you're winning your division, you're playing games tight. I believe they've only lost one game by a double-digit margin, and that was that blowout against the Bengals. Go for it. Why not? At this point, the horse is out of the barn, the cat's out of the whatever bag, I think the phrase is. Just keep winning. Should have they won, or should they keep winning? Should they have gone for it? I don't really know. Mariota's clearly not the guy. But I don't know. I will say I think that overall they need way more than just a number one pick to take this to the next level. Because I don't know. I'm still not sold on Arthur Smith at all. And cool, win the division, get just eliminated in the wild card. Sounds good. Go for it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. This team needs a lot. Like, if it's a complete overhaul thing. So like, if they win some games and let's say they get in like Will Anderson range, which is going to be hard, if you win the division. Like Will Anderson's a top 5 pick. So like, is there a path for them to get a difference-making defensive person that could help on that side of the ball? Because you need both, right? Like I remember, to use the Panthers example real quickly, the Super Bowl run came from not only us getting Cam Newton, but the next year we'd have to Luke Kuechly. So you kind of need both. You need offense and defense. And that may be something that they get this year, but if their pick's too high, that lessens your chance of getting a great player on that side of the ball, on either side of the ball. But I say all that because they still have Desmond Ridder behind Mariota. If Desmond Ridder turns out to be a good quarterback, then you have that problem solved. And now all you have to do is go back and fix maybe the defense. So it's interesting what the Falcons are doing. Players take, like you said, Lexi, players have a lot of pride. It's hard for them to actually tank, but I kind of do like question the Falcons like direction and what exactly are they going to do? moving forward. It should be interesting to see. The Chargers, on the other hand, have been sort of a disappointment of this year, but you kind of feel like maybe if they win this game, they'll be right back in the AFC West race because the Raiders are terrible, the Broncos are terrible, so the Chargers don't have to do that much to keep pace with the Chiefs. I mean, they're honestly right there. They're one game behind them, I think. So the Chargers are favored by 3.5 in this game. Do you think? Who do you guys think wins the game?
I'm taking Chargers here. The 3 games they've given up, I'm just like, darn it, I love Justin Herbert. I want to see him succeed, but Falcons are just so up and down right now. I mean, I do think it'll probably end up being a close game. But I'm taking the Chargers.
This is tricky because the Chargers, I feel like, lose games that they have no business losing. Just look at that blowout loss to the Jaguars in week 3 last week I guess the Seahawks are good now. I don't know, but I didn't think they would be as good as they are. So maybe it's a bad loss. So yeah, this would fit right in that wheelhouse of confounding defeats, but I'm going to go with the Chargers to bounce back after a tough loss. I don't think they get bit twice in a row. So give me the Chargers.
Neither one of these teams play defense. I don't know. The Chargers are a weird road team too. They lose some bad games on the road. So the crazy thing is these are 2 franchises which they have the worst luck. You can't really trust either one of them. The Falcons have 28-3. And I feel like the Chargers just have a bunch of those in less significant situations. So this is a battle of 2 teams that just seem like they always fall just short. So yeah, this is tough for me, but I think I'm gonna go with the Chargers to win the game. Falcons coming off an emotional win. Chargers, I think, is just better, obviously. Top to bottom, and they're gonna need to win this game to keep pace for their division. I think they can take care of business, but I don't really love the pick, and I understand why they're only favored by 3.5. But I'll take LA. All right, cool. Next NFL game we got is Rams at Bucs. Ugly game. 3-4 Rams at 3-5 Buccaneers. Lexi, which team has been more disappointing so far this year?
I mean, I would just say the Rams because obviously they're coming off the Super Bowl and winning. And I think all of us, including Tom Brady himself, realizes that he should have not come back. So, I mean, that's disappointing in itself as well. But I'm just going to go with the Rams only because they were the Super Bowl champions last year. But both teams have been so unbelievably disappointing that I'm calling this the disappointment bowl right now because it's it's terrible. It's cringy. It's awful. I hate it. But, Tom Brady is going to Tom Brady. So we're watching it all unfold.
I think it's the Bucs just with how bad in particular they have looked. Usually a Super Bowl drop off is, kind of expected. I kind of think I had that feeling about the Rams in the first place. So I don't know. I just didn't see this out of the Bucs. This is uncharacteristically bad. So I think Tampa is more disappointed.
I think the Rams are more disappointing to me. The Buccaneers I saw coming because, first of all, I think people really, really don't always understand the impact of coaching. And I think there's a drop off from Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles that for some reason people just did not see coming. So I knew there would be a drop off because of the coaching, and then you have so many injuries in the offseason, especially to the offensive line. So did I think the Buccaneers would be 3-5? Not at this point, not really. But I definitely would be lying if I said I thought the Buccaneers would be as good as they've been in the past. There was just too many things working against them between the coaching and now all the injuries they had. The Rams, I figured the Super Bowl hangover thing would happen to the Bengals for sure. The Rams, to me, I felt like, outside of OBJ, they're bringing most of their guys back and they would continue to be, do okay. The Rams does kind of surprise me more out of the two for sure. But somebody's got to win the game. Buccaneers are favored by 3 at the crib. So who do you guys think comes out to win this game?
I'm going to go with the Rams here to continue the Tampa Bay slide post, well, whatever's going on with Brady. I mean, the Bucs have been atrocious over the past 6 weeks. They're 1-5, and I don't see it getting better. I think the Rams got this win here. The win just like they did in the playoffs in Tampa. Delivered that weird, but that's okay. Lexi, what do you think?
I love it. No, I think the same actually. I'm sitting here saying don't bet against Tom Brady, but that was like the original Tom Brady that actually played a career and didn't retire and come back. So I am just saying that Rams are going to come in, take care of business. Whatever is happening with the Bucs is clearly happening. Tom Brady and whatever he's going through in his personal life is clearly affecting him on the field. You see it on the sidelines, even more so. I know that he always had his stuff going on the sidelines, but it's just different this year. There's just more anger. There's more frustration. Maybe some embarrassment for obviously everything being public, whatever. But yeah, Rams are going to capitalize on that. Not saying by a lot. I don't know how much, but the Rams are going to win.
So I think I've got the Buccaneers winning this game simply because they've lost 3 games in a row. And I mean, the Buccaneers are terrible, but I just have a hard time believing a Tom Brady team was going to lose 4 games in a row. Like, that's just insane. Maybe that's just silly to continue believing in this team, but 4 games in a row was a lot. So I'll take the Bucs by a slim margin. Probably a stay away betting wise, but I like the Bucs. All right, last game on the NFL slate is Titans at Chiefs. Not the sexiest game on the NFL schedule. None of these games are super sexy though. But the Titans are 5-2. And I feel like for like the 4th year in a row, the Titans have had a good record to everyone's surprise. Like you look up and you're like, oh, the Titans are the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like,
I swear, I don't know why.
Like it's so strange. It's so strange. But the Titans are 5-2, going to the Chiefs, who are also 5-2. The betting line is Chiefs favored by 12.5. Little fun fact: last year the Chiefs lost 27-3 against Tennessee. Granted the game was in Tennessee, but is the 12.5 line disrespectful to the mighty Tennessee Titans?
I don't know. Probably not. Probably a little bit. Because they just haven't been winning with a lot of flair. And even though they are winning, that's great. When they lose, it has not been good. They started out 0-2, capped off with a 41-7 loss in Buffalo on Monday Night Football. That's pretty brutal. But they've bounced back and scraped out some wins. So, good on you. But now it's time to play another big boy team. Sorry, the Texans aren't walking in the building today, but no, it's time for the Chiefs to roll. And if we obviously have our locks every week, and I gotta say, I've built a pretty good record on Kansas City picks. So no, I like it. I'm fine with it. I do not believe in the Titans. They're always fraudulent.
I agree. I don't think it's disrespectful because you're looking at the Chiefs, who are, more consistent overall than Tennessee in what they do. So, if they want to get upset or, Sean, whoever wants to get disrespected by it, then just deal with it. But no, I mean, I think it's pretty accurate.
It's a big weekend for Tennessee. I mean, you got the Vols and you got the Titans,
Oh, yeah.
playing against the powerhouses. Titans at Chiefs, Tennessee at Georgia. Man, you got some big weekend for that state. But yeah, I mean, Titans, their 5 wins have come against 5 of the worst teams in the NFL, and they're all close, right? 7-point win over Indy, 2-point win over Vegas, 4-point win over Washington, and then the 9 and 7-point win against Indy and Houston again. So haven't really been tested. They will be tested in this stretch, starting with this game. 12.5 is a pretty big line though for an NFL game. So I will say that the Titans are being slightly disrespected, but I don't think anyone will be surprised if the Chiefs win by that margin. Should be a really fun game. I'm assuming by the comments, Bobby and Lexi, you're both taking the Chiefs to win.
Yep, I like KC here.
Same.
Yeah, I like Kansas City too. All right, cool. Let's get to the final segment of our show, and that is the lock of the week. So we didn't do this show last week because I was driving from North Carolina to Los Angeles, but 2 weeks ago we still have our results. So we had myself. I took UCLA +6 against Oregon. That was a big old L. Oregon whooped UCLA by way more than 6. Bobby, as he alluded to earlier, got the dub with betting Chiefs -2.5. I believe that was against the 49ers. Chiefs took care of business. And then Lexi had Clemson Q's at over 49.5.
They scored 48.
48, yeah.
Oh, bad beat.
I was like, no way. How I'm going to lose this. Damn it.
That's funny.
Yeah, 48. So that was an L. So that puts the overall standings at me at 1-5, Bobby at 3-3, Lexi at 2-4. Shout out to Bobby, by the way, for coming back both in these standings and also in your daily picks. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. It's been a good couple weeks, so yeah.
All right, since you're the winner, yeah, go ahead and give us your lock of the week.
Yeah, so obviously love KC. I like the line too, but I there's a bet I like way more here, and that's over 49.5 in Chargers Falcons. Like you mentioned, the Falcons are 29th in points allowed, and the Chargers are 31st. This is going to be an absolute just track meet, like 2016 Big 12 vibes. There will be no defense. There'll be numbers galore. I like this to clear 49.5.
All right, I'll go with mine. I believe that LSU is going to cover in the game against Alabama. So those 13.5 points, Bama's going to probably win by like a touchdown.
I like that pick.
Yeah. LSU per 13.5 is really good. Great picks by both of you guys. I really love it for sure. Man, I'm gonna keep it simple. Try to do a simple pick and try to help my odds to get a win this week. And I'm gonna go ahead and take. I'm gonna take the Bucs to win outright against the Rams. Like I said, I just don't see a Tom Brady team losing 4 games in a row. It's just really tough, especially at home. Both bad teams, but I think the Bucs are able to eke this one out and get the win. So keeping it simple, taking the Bucs to win against LA. But should be a fun weekend of games. Everybody, appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening. We enjoy bringing this content to you, and we have a lot of fun. We'll be back next week to talk about another week of football. And for those of you, however you watch, whatever team you root for, hope you enjoy the week of football, and we'll see you back right here next week.
See you guys.
Peace.
See y'all.
See y'all.